Chapter 5. Captain Archer had not been kidding about his offer of a virtual reality experience. They weren't halfway through the next movie when a soldier in a blue full-body uniform and a belt full of tools that looked only vaguely familiar to Bonnie approached and exchanged a few whispered words. The blue-uniformed human was black of skin, with short, close-cropped hair on top of his head. "Corporal Rodriguez at your service, ma'am," he said, and snapped a brisk hand gesture that had the side of his fingers facing the Delamison officer. Some kind of salute, she concluded, and returned it as best she could. "All right, Corporal. What do we do?" she asked, though she briefly leaned over a little to look past him as the swashbuckling scene began, as the two crews boarded each other. She had to tear herself away from the performance of Jonathan Deep, and did it with the utmost difficulty. The human in front of her seemed to take it in stride.
"Yeah, he was a great actor. He's been dead for centuries, but there's still a fandom for his work,"
Corporal Rodriguez said, with a slow shake of his head.
"We should all be so lucky."
"A fandom?" Bonnie asked, and followed when the corporal began to lead her and her somewhat reluctant crew away from the seating area.
"Fandom, you know, a whole bunch of people who enjoy the same thing. A show, a band, a television or novel series. Some of these fandoms go on for centuries. My personal favorite is the Who Conquers series by one of the greatest authors of the 21st century. It's the prequel to the Who Endures series. There are still fanfictions about those,"
Rodriguez remarked offhandedly, as if those were supposed to mean something to her. He was chatting on mindlessly while they went to the first virtual reality setup.
"Captain,"
he broke the stream of his words and gestured to the platform.
"take the suit off the side and put it on. It's polytheistic, so it should fit you without a problem. The real thing is this,"
he said, and tapped his nose in reference to their snouts.
"Thankfully you got lucky. My old man used to make Halloween costumes for dogs, so I learned how to adjust masks to fit their face,"
he said, and popped the panel off the bottom of the mask.
"It'll be a little uncomfortable at first, but you should be able to adjust,"
Rodriguez remarked, and while Bonnie and several of her bridge crew looked down with curiosity, they watched the human casually shove the guts and wires of the mask around inside to reshape its contours. And while holding his finger in place, he pulled black tape off a roll, bit it free, and began taping everything back into place.
"We may be down a few sets after this, but they're cheap,"
he said, and then casually cracked the goggle mask, pulled it apart a little, and then began wrapping tape around the wires over and over until he turned the single piece into two.
"There. Now try it on."
Bonnie's mind swam. At home, it would be weeks of study, and then a quick rollout. They just do things? Just like that? She took the mask gingerly in hand and slipped it onto her head.
"The slope is a little off. Hold on, ma'am,"
he said, and yanking a strip of tape free, he quickly wrapped it over the top of her head and under her jaw twice to secure the mask in place.
"Duct tape fixes everything,"
he said with a satisfying nod, while Bonnie slipped the suit on, and Rodriguez brought the metal arm around to wrap around her waist. It snipped into place with a click, and the corporal tapped a smooth part of the visor.
"All right. Run through the tutorial first, then select the number of days you want to experience. I assume you want to do pirate stuff, so..."
He went to a rack against the wall and brought out a short white stick, which he extended to her.
"You'll need this."
"It can't be this easy," Bonnie told herself as the screen came up and the real world vanished. "Welcome to the Playstand 9000. Please create your icon or log in." The world before her eyes continued to shift from alien landscapes with endless seas of red sand to a rolling sea, and beneath her feet when she looked down, there was a wooden deck. For a moment she did nothing. She simply basked in the strange environments. An icon on the screen began to vibrate, and a faint yellow glow radiated outward from it. "Please choose an option," the system asked again, and reticent still, she reached out and tapped Create Account. "Input username, or have one created for you." the system's soft, feminine voice instructed, and she tapped auto-generate. Will username Slay Queen be acceptable to you? The voice inquired. Bonnie paused. It has a nice ring to it, but what is a queen? She wondered, and taking a wild guess, she dragged her finger across the second part of the word and tapped it. Define, she made a further guess. Queen, hereditary female monarch who commands nations, kingdoms, empires, and armies. A noble of high rank responsible for vast organization and management, the system replied. Close. She thought and highlighted the first half and said, Pirate. There we go. The Pirate Queen. She gave a sharp, satisfied nod and followed the tutorial through simple things such as attack, defense, and interacting with objects. When the system completed the tutorial, it asked, How much in-game time would you like to experience? If real-time, tap real-time. If longer, please indicate the number of days you wish to live out. 30, she said at once, and load me something piratey. Bonnie ordered the machine, and the far horizon appeared. Ahead, a setting sun that was alien to her eyes, and yet beautiful. The ship seemed to rock beneath her feet, and the spray of water against her fur. And just like that, her adventure began. I think she likes it, Reginald said as the treadmill platform rocked back and forth to give her the experience of the high seas. He chuckled and looked at his corporal, who was fixing the other headsets for the eager bridge crew. Their wagging tails were far too dog-like not to find endearing. 30 days of that, she'll come out saying, Avast me, mateys, or something. Like when you went into that medieval sim for a month, and came out calling all the senior officers my lord and my lady for a week. The corporal shuffled his feet a little.
Yes, sir. It was fun, though.
I'm sure. Archer's voice was quite dry when he replied, and one by one the Delamison bridge crew was hooked up to their own sets, and began to live out their own weeks-long adventure for what would be a roughly 2-hour period.